everybody, Fertility Journals here. Thank you so much for watching. I noticed that I got a bunch of whole new subscribers. Welcome to the family. I decided to start this YouTube channel after undergoing 12 cycles of IVF. During that time, I relied heavily in the YouTube space to be able to gain information and learn from others. And I swore to myself that if God was to give me the grace to make it work for me, that I would get into this space and also share my story as a testimony of the journey of hope and faith. And so you will notice that I upload new videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do vlogs every now and then, now that I have my wonderful baby boy. But if you're interested in every step of the 12 cycles of IVF, I do have vlogs of that entire journey of every single cycle. So make sure that you access those videos. And then like what I do now is share with you what I learned through my journey, because when you undergo so many cycles, there's so many lessons learned, and I figured that I would share with you my experience. I'm not a medical professional, but I did undergo those cycles, and I feel like there's a lot we still need to share with one another through this journey. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my recommendations of what you should do before, during, and after IVF to maximize your chances. If you are interested in this information, stay tuned. Before you begin your IVF journey, my advice to you is to think about choosing a clinic that can provide you data. You also need to make sure that you connect with the doctor, because you don't know how long this journey is going to take. Granted, I didn't go into it knowing I was going to do 12 cycles. And so making sure that you connect with the doctor absolutely helps. My doctor is Dr. Frank Yillian of the Life IVF Center. And I met him after working with 4 doctors before him. And the way I look at it, I always try to maintain good relationships with my doctors. It is only because my husband and I did research, and when I find that a doctor isn't able to work with me for whatever reason, I amply let them know and I move on to the next doctor. My first doctor was absolutely amazing. In fact, their particular clinic was willing to explore the IVF that would work for me, called mini IVF. What ended up happening is that they closed during the pandemic, and so that's how I transitioned into my second doctor. It was a clinic that was, thank goodness, working with older women over the age of 40 during the pandemic. That was the clinic where I underwent my first conventional IVF. At the time, I did not know that conventional IVF wasn't right for me. I knew something wasn't right because taking $5,000 worth of medications to only mature 1 egg, and for that egg not to end up being retrieved, and for that process to be reverted into an IUI, I knew that there was just something not right. Plus, when I was taking all those medications, my poor body. But I did ask that particular doctor if they offered mini IVF. And the doctor said that unfortunately, they are not able to do so. They'd have to kind of take it to the board. And so that was when I transitioned back to my other clinic that was now functioning at the time after the pandemic. And the clinic had started working on mini IVF. They're willing to try it one time. And that was also at the time that I was just kind of looking around. That's how I found Dr. Frank Yillian. And when I ran my protocol for the mini IVF with Frank Yillian, I noticed in comparison shopping between the doctors that Dr. Yillian had a lot of experience. He actually tweaked the protocol that that doctor had given me. And when I got off the phone, I called my family members, and we all made the decision to transition to Dr. Yillian. At the same time, I was actually working with a doctor in Ukraine. Yes, I'll probably do a video on that. And I was also working with a doctor in my home country in Africa, who was willing to work with me if push comes to shove. And because I was going to have to travel, I needed to do it at a later time. But I was trying to avoid doing IVF internationally. And luckily for me, it ended up materializing with Dr. Yillian. Personality is also really important, like I mentioned in this first point. So data, personality, because one of the things that Dr. Yillian said to me that the other doctors did not is, let us try. He said to me, let us try. He was willing to let me try with my own eggs without judgment. And that was very important to me, because it wasn't that I was against the different pathways to baby. It was just that I wanted a chance to try with a doctor who was optimistic about it and realistic about it, and just to see. And he said, let us try. And the data that he provided me, and I say this in all my videos, he had data, and my husband actually asked, what is the statistics and chances for a woman my wife's age? At the time I was 43, turning 44. And that's when he said the 1 out of 6 to 1 out of 8 IVF cycles is the trend that the center was seeing with women of my age group when it comes to the probability of getting a normal embryo. And so hopefully that piece of my experience collaborated with that first point is helpful for you. Now, you're in the IVF cycle, right? Again, let's be realistic. IVF is a journey of hope and faith. If you're lucky that it's going to work the first time, yes, that is wonderful. But for many of us, IVF may not work the first time. So it's important to have a doctor who you can discuss next steps, you can discuss what happened, and you can get advice. A doctor with a teaching heart to guide you through, because there's a lot of complexities. And in this space, I try to really, in layman's language, explain to you the terms and the conditions, having gone through so many of them, because I know it can be really challenging. But you do need a doctor with a teaching heart. And so during IVF, you do want that. You want to find out the what happened. You also want to find out what you can do for next steps, because with each cycle, I believe you want to learn. Most of you have seen the video that I did a while back that talked about how Oprah encouraged me a lot. I was watching her, and she said that failure, there's nothing like failure. In her mind, failure is a lesson, is an opportunity to learn. And I remember incorporating that in the multiple cycles that failed. But you also want to be in a position during IVF. Do not be afraid to seek a second opinion. I remember during my IVF journey, without my doctor that I have now, that I sought a second opinion while I was with that doctor. And all you're doing is just finding out and making sure that you're doing the right thing and you understand the research. And so that's okay to do as well. I know I did that. But it is important for the what. It is important to discuss the next steps. And it is important to have a doctor who's willing to walk you through exactly what that means. Lastly, what to do after IVF. You want to get a report on everything that has happened. You want to be able to sit down and look at it. Remember, if it is not successful the first time, then it is important to be able to just sit in it and be able to just take a deep breath and be able to look at the report, ask the doctor for the report, and definitely just take a look at it. What went wrong? What happened? What are some things that you're going to do next time? I think that's really, really important so that you can be able to strategically move on to the next step. It's also okay for you to seek an opinion, a second opinion at that time after that IVF cycle if you wish to. I will say that for me, the data was helpful for me to know that I needed to be with the same doctor for a while before I moved on to another doctor, because the probability of my IVF cycles not working was pretty high because I just have older eggs. But it is important for you to be able to process that. I'll share with you, an example of how my husband and I were able to do that after an IVF cycle. So when my worst IVF cycle happened, which is when I lost a day 3 frozen embryo and a day 3 fresh that ran away, and we ended up transferring the day 3 frozen, and that transfer did not work. I remember I was really, really traumatized. Many of you can relate to how hard it is to go through a transfer cycle, those medications, and for it not to work. I mean, I was just done. And that was actually my third IVF cycle with Dr. Yillian, and where we did that actual transfer. And when it didn't work, we sat down with him. I remember we scheduled an appointment, and self-advocacy is important. And my husband and I sat down and we asked all the questions. And the biggest one was, why did it not work and what could we do next time? And that was when Dr. Yillian explained to my husband and I that when you have a day 3, sometimes you don't have information. But if it is a day 5 embryo, there's grading, there's an opportunity to get it tested, to be able to see what's going on. And that's when the whole conversation about PGTA testing came out, the differences between a day 3 and a day 5 embryo for my diagnosis. And even though the 4th cycle ended up failing as well, meaning that the embryo made it to the 5th day, it was graded, it went to PGTA testing, and it was not genetically normal. So it was a failure, right? I didn't walk away with a baby. However, the lessons learned, seeing it process, the milestones, seeing it fertilize, seeing my eggs make it past the 3rd day to the 5th day, the wealth of information, the grading, taking it to the PGTA testing, it's coming back with all the information that you need to know. In fact, I made a mistake and found out the gender. You know, I didn't know that you could filter what you wanted to know. And when you do PGTA testing, you get everything. And as I sit down now, I thank God every day that we made that decision, even though that cycle was a failure. But it taught me about the importance of pausing, asking questions, and really strategizing on next steps. It's definitely useful. And so folks, those are my tips on what you should do before IVF, during IVF, and after IVF, with some of the examples from my life that you could probably maybe take a leaf and learn from if you find that helpful. So thank you so much for watching. Now, if you're watching this, you probably have gone through IVF, and if you have, please share in the comments any tips or advice that you can share with others. Because I think that in this space, if we can learn, there's a lot of us who are silent watchers. We go onto YouTube to be able to learn from other people's experiences. And so if you write your advice for others in the comments, then somebody's going to walk away with some information that they did not know. I know I was always one of those people who read the comments and was able to really just get a source of hope and peace just from others who are part of that conversation. So hopefully you can do that. So if you have any tips at all that could help others based on your experience before, during, and after IVF, please go ahead and share that. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, if you're new, please subscribe and join the family. I think that there's not a lot of conversations happening around infertility, and we do need to be active voices to be able to help others. There's a new generation of women out there that we are birthing that is going to be pursuing careers, that is not going to be having babies really, really young. Life has changed. And so I really feel that this will be a valuable resource for those young women and men who are advancing into adulthood now. So I think this space is going to be really helpful for them. Because as you know, they're not thinking about it. I know I wasn't thinking about it in my 30s. So thank you for watching. Until my next video, bye.